digital nomad life forever is pretty much unsustainable. I come from a broken home. I come from divorced parents. I've often felt that I woke up in a place not knowing where I was.
Why did you decide to play this video game of nomadic living?
As a young child, very confused about who I was in this world and what home was. It really put upside down my understanding of home. You start becoming very confused about who that real you is. A lot of digital nomads don't know that they're addicted to freedom.
On that journey to finding that sense of home and belonging, what did you first of all have to find inside of yourself on this nomad journey?
When we start thinking about the deeply nomad journey that I teach, we essentially teach 4 pillars.
On today's episode, we have Liz Kanzler, who is a nomadic coach. She's been a nomad, meaning that she lives in different locations all around the world for over 10 years. She's built a program called Deeply Nomad, and she's also built a thriving community online of over 40,000 nomadic souls. She facilitates transformation, workshops and retreats for nomads globally. She's a speaker at international summits and nomad events, and also author of her own book called Lost in Self. In this episode, this is for nomads, but also for just people in general who are interested in self-improvement, to learn deeper about the relationship with self, relationship with work, relationship with others, and relationship with travel too. See, the world is a relationship. The world externally, we have a relationship with that world. And in this episode, you can expect to find out more about how you can deepen these relationships. So listen in and let this code activate something deep within. Enjoy. Hi, Liz. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure.
Your work is fascinating around the fact you've lived nomadic for 10 plus years. And I love your ability to share the unspoken in the nomadic world, where it looks so glamorous, so Instagram, social media, moving from place to place, yet like your work really goes deeper to go into what truly goes on for a nomad. So like, I'm curious to start with the question, like, how do you balance the desire for freedom and the inability or the fear of making a commitment?
You're starting with a really important question. I think that non-committal issues are a huge problem for digital nomads, including myself. After 10 years of living this lifestyle, I still struggle with non-committal issues that show up in various parts of my life. They show up with doubts, with insecurities. They show up in relationships, even in my romantic relationship. So I think it's a trait that a lot of nomads, although they can work through it and gain awareness of it, they might still struggle for a long time. And as you said in the introduction, like, my work is really bringing that depth to the nomadic world. That's why I called my business Deeply Nomad, right? It's like, I think a great deal of working through the non-committal issues comes through awareness, comes through going deep inside of you, inside your soul, understanding what those non-committal issues have to do with. And it's a journey that can take a long time. So when we talk about freedom versus commitment, I think unfortunately for digital nomads, they enter a cycle where one affects the other and augments the other. So the more freedom we have in our life, the more our non-committal issues also grow. And I'm going to explain it to you a little bit, how I explain it to my students at Deeply Nomad. Oftentimes, people that become digital nomads, they're people that from a very early age, they crave something deeper. It's like they want something else, something different in life, for their job, for their work. You know, they desire more freedom, more ability to, be independent, location independent. And so they seek out a different path. They're not happy with, the more conventional path. They want to carve out their own path. And so they do that. And then that's when they become oftentimes digital nomads. They find a different way of doing things, a way of being more autonomous in their work, of finding more freedom. And the more they walk that path, the more they are also carving this path of freedom, which therefore they become addicted to that freedom. And I think this word addicted is a really important word. A lot of digital nomads don't know that they're addicted to freedom. They don't know they're addicted to this nomadic path. And it becomes a problem because the more you carve this path of freedom, the more you go away from understanding the importance of commitment and of choosing one thing and not always wanting all of the other options out there. So those are my first thoughts on it. It is, as I said, this cycle that feeds each other. And I think the way to interrupt is with awareness.
So like that first step is awareness.
Yeah.
And yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, because it's almost like an unspoken truth for someone who is, living that nomadic lifestyle. And really just to double click on what you shared there about, it's almost like an addiction, and also that the more freedom that you start to create is then the ability to commit gets more challenging.
Exactly.
Can you like go deeper on that point?
Yeah, I mean, imagine if you have a life that is fully based on freedom, right? You work from anywhere that you want. You oftentimes, if you have your own business as a digital nomad, you can create your work in the way that you desire. You have full freedom and autonomy on that. Then you're also having full freedom on the life that you want to live. What environment do you want to choose? What group of people do you choose to live with? What community are you choosing? It all, is so fluid and flexible. As a digital nomad, you can one day be here, the other day be there. You switch lives like that, and it's very addictive because oftentimes digital nomads also struggle with another concept that we call escapism. Okay, oftentimes when things get hard or when they just desire to change lives, they do it, from one second to another. You book up, I mean, I'm sure you know the feeling, it's like one day you're in Dubai, the next day you're in Cape Town, and everything changes around you. And that is a feeling of addiction because you can have it pretty much all.
Yeah, no, I feel that too. And there's these parts which it brings a sense of variety, which when I say like travel to new places, yeah, like 1 minute we'll be in Dubai in the new year, back to UK for Christmas, and then here right now, it's like there's this variety, and the fact that when you change an environment, it almost frees up an ability to then think differently and be and create new habits, like because it's all fresh. Yet also there's this longing for the commitment and the depth of like being somewhere where you can just like fully go and build the routines that you want to build, or create the depth. So is this almost like this push and pull? I really feel that.
I mean, you pointed out something really important, the personal development aspect of this nomadic lifestyle. It's one of the most positive parts of this lifestyle. With every new destination, we're changing dramatically, we're growing, we're developing. Like, this lifestyle really allows us to go to the next level all the time. And that's also part of this addiction, right? Because as humans that have this strive to explore the world and to explore ourselves through it, we are going to be addicted to also personal development and to this ever-changing development of ourselves, right? So there's a lot of, as you can see, there's a lot of aspects, a lot of elements that feed this addiction. Like, who wouldn't want to have all of the lives possible that are out there for themselves if they could, right? I always say that after 10 years of being a digital nomad, I feel like I sometimes play this video game where, I'm just put in different levels, and I'm very disoriented sometimes where I wake up, especially in moments like now. I've come back from a 5-month trip. I've gone, to many different countries in this 5 months. And especially this past couple of weeks, it's been shorter trips, so shorter journeys and these destinations. And I've often felt that I woke up in a place not knowing where I was. And that's why I say it sometimes feels like you're in this video game, in this kind of different reality where you're just being placed in different screens, if that makes sense. Or if you think of it as a board game, like you're just being put from one board game to the other, and suddenly the rules are completely different. The environment is completely different. So yeah, it's a fascinating lifestyle, one that has completely changed me for the better, and that has also brought up a lot of challenges along the way. One that I truly recommend to human beings to experiment and to explore. At the same time, I also want to be honest about the problems that arise with it.
Mm. Yeah, so you mentioned that you feel like you were planted in this video game and, planted in different places and, unlocking these different levels.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like, why did you decide to play this video game of nomadic living?
I think for me, and I write about this in my book, Lost in Self, it's in the introduction, in the foreword. I think I was destined to become a digital nomad. And if I go a step further than that, I think I was even destined to talk about the shadows of digital nomadism and to bring light into this community, into this lifestyle. I believe that I became a digital nomad because I've always been a citizen of the world. I was born as a child of two cultures. So my mother is Peruvian, my father is German, and I grew up in the city of Barcelona. So overall, I grew up with three cultures within me, and already as a baby, already as a young child, very confused about who I was in this world and what home was, and seeking for that place of home and that place of comfort and that feeling of belonging. And I think a lot of people out there can relate to that desire to find home, that desire to find belonging. I think for multicultural, third culture kids like me, it's an even greater desire. So I think I traveled the world for this past decade to find that sense of home.
Mm.
I think that's what drove me to it. But as I said earlier, it's also like an inherent like desire to explore what's out there, like to not conform to societal expectations, but to carve out my own path, to like question the status quo, to question how things should be done, and think for myself and create the life that I want for myself.
Mm. Yeah, so you went on this journey to like find this sense of like belonging and
Mhm.
home, and yet on this path, like what I'm hearing is there was also like so much that was learned around, actually like finding like this is the first part as I found on the your deeply nomadic living. It was
Yeah.
like the relationship to self. So like I'm curious on that journey to finding that sense of home and belonging. Like what did you first of all have to find inside of yourself on this nomad journey?
Wow. I mean, there's a lot to touch on when we start thinking about the deeply nomad journey that I teach. We essentially teach four pillars at Deeply Nomad. So you have the relationship to yourself as the first and most fundamental pillar.
Mm.
Then you have your relationship to travel as a second pillar. Then you have your relationship to relationships, meaning friends, community, family, love. And then you have the fourth pillar, which is relationship to work and purpose. So those are the four pillars that we focus on tremendously because we think that they all kind of work as together, like one built on top of the other. And we need to start with relationship to self because that's where everything starts. Like when you think of your relationships, your romantic relationship, your family relationship, your relationship to work, your insecurities around work, your, desires, everything, like it bases off of who are you, how much do you know yourself? How much do you ask deep questions to yourself? And so when we zoom into relationship to self, into this pillar, we start with what is your foundation? So we call it your inner tree. Okay. Like what are those habits, those routines that ground you, that center you, that make you who you are?
Mm.
Okay. That you repeat on a daily, on a weekly, those things that I'm sure you have many that have created who you are now. Then we also want to talk about your archetype. Like, what are those traits, those strengths, those weaknesses, those temptations, those shadows, those lights that you have as a digital nomad in this case, because obviously we work with digital nomads. Then we also want to touch deeply on the shadow aspects. Like, what are the insecurities? What are the fears? What are the issues that you bring into digital nomad life that are going to affect your journey going forward? And then we also want to touch on intuition. What is your relationship to your intuition? What is your relationship with spirituality? What do you believe in? Why do you think you are walking this path of being a digital nomad? So those are the four main sort of parts of this relationship to self pillar. And each of those goes deep and deep.
Yeah, awesome. And I'd love to almost double click on one of the areas
Yes.
because the listener can be like,
Yes.
yeah, just fascinated to explore that. I also noticed that, and whether it's in this pillar or a different one, there was these archetypes of a nomad.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is this also in the relationship to self?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we talk a lot about archetypes and shadows. So they are very intertwined, these two, because depending on your archetype, you will have certain weaknesses. And if we go further into weaknesses, that's when the shadows appear. And I recently did a lot of work to also be able to facilitate deeper, like psychological, even therapeutic work. And we then start going into the concept of where do the shadows stem from in your past? Like it's really deep work that we offer at Deeply Nomad. Um, these shadows oftentimes are created through experiences that we have in our past, and the reaction of those experiences into like a part of ourselves. So how I like to see the mind is not as a mono mind, one that controls everything, but I actually like to see the mind as different parts that are part of this bigger mind. Okay, we all have different parts within ourselves. We all have, like parts that make us struggle more, other parts that are cheerleaders. So I think it's really important to hyper focus on these parts and understand which parts have been hurt in the past. The best way that I can explain to you this parts work that we do, which is actually a discipline that exists out there. It's called parts work and IFS, inner family system.
That's awesome.
Have you heard about it?
Yeah.
With it before?
It's life changing.
Exactly, life changing. I agree with you full-heartedly. I've been doing therapy for a few years already, and my therapist specializes in IFS and parts work and constellation work. So that's why I, after many years of practicing this as her student, um, I was very interested in also learning how to facilitate it and bringing it to Deeply Nomad to help our students overcome certain parts that are affecting their nomadic journey, because everything goes back to past, to traumas, to moments in your life that hurt parts of you and made those parts become shadows, like burden parts. That's how we call them in parts work.
Yeah, no, it really resonates. I mean, this work of the IFS parts, life changing. I was working with a coach and noticed that he was using a lot of this inside of in the coaching that we were doing together, and was having these huge transformative experiences where I was almost having these own inner dialogues with these, let's call them like protector parts, these parts that either like put up walls or play these different scenarios, like if you start to feel like getting too close to someone, like say like in intimate relationship, will then like put up a wall and distant, or you just these different behaviors that start to play out, which you're all just protecting from these deeper parts of self, which they're the parts which me are not integrated yet, that actually just need the love, they need the care, they need the compassion.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's beautiful work.
The best way that I can put it, and I'm going to steal this analogy from my therapist, who I give credit for, is the bus analogy, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that are listening to us now that don't understand IFS, that have never done part work before. So how I would explain it to someone who has never worked with this discipline is, imagine you're in this bus, okay? And you as the adult self, so that is the part of you that has all of the sort of like positive experiences in life, the courageous part, the kind part, the self-compassionate part, the curious part, all of those, the creative part, everything. That part is steering the bus. Okay. Your adult self is on the steering wheel, and the situation is that inside this bus, there's all of these parts that are seated in the bus, at the back of the bus. And these are all of the parts that make up you as well. Okay. Yes, the adult self is steering the wheel, but we can't forget that, as I said earlier, we don't have a monomind. We have different parts that are a part of us as well. So these parts, the inner critic, the perfectionist, the controller, whatever your parts are seated in the bus, okay? And usually, in the ideal case scenario, the adult self is steering the bus. And all is well as long as the adult self is steering the bus, because these small parts, they are allowed to be in the bus. They're there, they have a seat, they have experienced something, therefore they exist. But the problem arises when, imagine there's something in front of the bus that appears and that triggers severely one of those parts seated in the bus. Okay. And the thing that happens then is that there is a potential for one of these parts to stand up, run to the front of the bus, take out the adult self from the steering wheel, and suddenly take control over the bus. And that's what happens to so many of us. Oftentimes we go through life and suddenly something happens, a trigger arises, and without even being aware of it, one of these parts, let's say the perfectionist part or the controller part, runs to the front, takes over, and suddenly we're seeing life through that lens. We're seeing life through the lens of the perfectionist, of the controller, of the XYZ, whatever the most challenging part is for you. And that is the problem. And our work, and the work that we do at Deeply Nomad, specifically for digital nomads, is to become aware of the parts that have been triggered, have run to the front, and have taken control over our journey, so we can replace them with our adult self again.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Such powerful work to give someone that level of understanding inside. Like, I'm curious for you on your nomad journey. Like, what did you discover around the parts that may take over for a nomad?
Yeah.
For you personally?
I mean, right now, I would say the biggest one, responding to your question, because it has relation to my digital nomad journey, is my controller. And when I think about my controller side, I also need to think a lot about my masculine side. And I think this will be true for a lot of digital nomads out there, specifically women, I would say, that are very independent. When you're a digital nomad, you have to be independent, you have to rely on yourself. It's you against the world, or you with the world, like, it's however you want to see it. You're out there, like, for good or for bad. If something bad happens, you have to guard yourself. Something wonderful happens, you're your best friend. And at the end of the day, for me in my journey, my personal journey, I've struggled a lot with my controller side, my masculine side, that part of me that needs to have control, that needs to know, that needs to like decide, it's a part of me that is, I don't know how to say, it doesn't like fully like let go. And it's interesting because on the other hand, I have my intuition, which is so strong. So I deeply trust in my journey. I am able to release when it comes to myself. But when other people come into place, for instance, my relationship, my romantic relationship, my controller side takes over. It's like, I want to be able to know, to be like, to decide, to take control. And I've done a lot of work in my personal romantic relationship to release that sense of control, to release that hyper independent traveler, digital nomad, to be able to become softer and more gentler within my romantic relationship, because that is important for my romantic relationship. For the man, for my partner, to be able to lead me, to guide me, to protect me, to decide, and for me to trust that as well. And I'm not saying you need to be in one side or on the other. And, it's not a matter of being fully in your masculine or being fully in your feminine. It's about having a good balance of both. And that requires, again, awareness.
Yeah.
Awareness of that shadow, awareness of that part, awareness of why that came in the first place. For me, it had a lot to do with family, of the way I was brought up, my relationship to my parents. That hyper-independent that hyper-independent kid became only stronger when then I became a hyper-independent traveler and a digital nomad for 10 years. Like, of course, it makes sense that I developed this hyper-masculine part, the controller part.
That's, the level of awareness there to be able to unpick that of what on the paper, on paper looks like you've built this, nomadic, incredible life, traveling around from place to place. Yet actually, maybe on that bus, there was this controller side that just wanted to feel a sense of safety, feel a sense of like security inside of self.
Yeah.
That Yeah. And what's come up for you there?
Yeah, and also it goes back to this addiction to freedom. Like
Mm.
at the end of the day, we were talking earlier about what makes this life so addictive. Well, being able to, let's say you're on your own as a digital nomad out there, single, young, like everything that you want, you can create. That's what the controller side is also about. Like I decide for myself. It's only me in the picture. For many years I was single as a digital nomad. So it didn't, it just mattered what I wanted. Like, I want to go to that place, I'm going to go there. I want to stay for however long. That's up to me to decide. Do I want to leave tomorrow? I can do that. Do I want to change like work? It's like it's always felt like I was in charge. And when you are in a relationship, in a romantic relationship, in any relationship, really, you need to be able to have a balance. Like, you're not always going to be in control. You shouldn't be in control always. So it's been one of the most difficult things that I've learned with Rick, my partner, with whom I also co-facilitate Deeply Nomad. So he's part of the Deeply Nomad team. We work together. So imagine how much this controller side came up, me being the founder of Deeply Nomad, right? It's like, I want to release, I want to give him control. I want him to decide about things. And yet I have this like anxiety, like I need to have the control over it.
Mm.
And I feel very grateful that we're able to work through this shadow of mine, through work, through our partnership, and through many other areas of life.
Yes, I feel so many people will relate to that controller side, especially the nomadic, but also people who are listening in who, yeah, they just relate to that controller self who starts to take over,
Yeah.
controller part. So I'm curious, like, what impact has, say, an intimate relationship had on healing that part?
Oh my God, a lot. I mean, and I'm very grateful for him being able to gently point that out to me, right? Because as you said earlier, all of our parts that become burdened, they need a lot of love. They need a lot of compassion from ourselves, but also from the people around us. you know. So the way that he, my partner Rick, communicated that across to me and pointed out specific examples of how I was taking over control in this like anxious way allowed me to see it, to become aware. And at first it's uncomfortable, at first you don't want to see it, you try to negate it or deny it, but then the more it happens, the more you also feel it in the moment. I think every one of us feels when a part is taking control, when the part is running to the front of the bus and taking control over the steering wheel. We feel it.
Mhm.
So then it's about when you feel it, like try to gently work through it, try to gently change it, change your behavior. And it's a process. Obviously, it takes time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that process, like, would you be able to walk through, like, the steps that you find has been really helpful for you when someone feels like that part has taken over? Like, the way that I've personally experienced it and also I find with clients is that it's almost like a pain body takes over, and you have different people have different parts which start to run the show, but it's almost like this pain takes over and it feels like it's not you anymore. It's like
Mhm.
something else that's there. Like, what is then your steps that you personally go through and also that you teach clients to go through
Yeah.
to help the self, the compassionate, the loving,
Mhm.
true self
Yeah.
take the driver's seat?
Yeah. It's a very personal process at the end of the day.
Mm.
Another example that came up to provide a bit more context as well is the aspect around commitment, because something that Rick also helped me a lot to explore and uncover is my non-committal issues that I brought with from my digital nomad life and from my previous life. Um, And that is also one of the shadows that we work through. And similar to the controller part, requires steps to, solve and gain awareness on. For me, it really starts with someone reflecting it back to me, either my partner, my therapist, a friend, even myself. I just need to gain awareness. I think awareness is always a first step. That's why we, start with relationship to self and we focus a lot on awareness, um, and being vulnerable and radically honest with oneself. I think that's the starting point. Then after that, it's a lot of practical work, action. So like, how do you want to analyze this awareness? Like, are you going to journal about it? For me, that works really well. journaling as much as I can about this shadow, understanding really the depths of it. Where does it stem from? And oftentimes we can't know for sure. We can just have theories about it, right? Like when I do work with my therapist, when we go into parts work and IFS and I'm meditating through it and I'm like sharing these beliefs about the part that I'm working through, oftentimes the expression that comes through the analysis, the understanding of it, is just theoretical. It's things that I believe happened. I personally don't remember much of my childhood. I don't have many memories of it. So that's why I say for me, it's only theoretical. It's only this thoughts that I have that could be attributed to the parts, right? Maybe for other people, it's different. If you have an immaculate memory of your childhood, for instance, then maybe it's much easier for you to pinpoint. No, this part, this shadow is directly linked to this experience that I had at age 5 or at age 7, whatever. So that's why I say it's a very deeply personal process. So when I journal, in the second step, I journal, I work through it actively. That's kind of like the tough work, the going through the mud. It's when you like try to decompose and like analyze and dissect the shadow itself. And then after that comes the healing part, like really going into yourself, giving you a lot of love, a lot of compassion. I see it as like, imagine if like this part's kind of like, I don't know why this vision came to me once, but in one of these parts work sessions, I saw myself with all these holes inside of me. Like I had so many different holes. And the realization I came to when I was working through that was, it was very simple, but yet so profound. It's like, I just need to fill those holes with lots of love. Like I just need to, like if you had like a cream and you would just like fill those holes with lots of love. And that's what you do in the healing part, in this process. Realizing that the shadow is there, if you've gained awareness, being proud of the work that you've done actively. And now it's time to just be kind with this shadow, talk to it gently. When it comes up, like try to talk to it as if it was a friend at the end of the day. Like don't be harsh to it. Don't try to make it go away, but try to understand it and give it love. And then the fourth is really the change. At the end of the day, like now it's time to then put things into practice. Like when situations arise where the parts flares up, where the part feels triggered, how is it going to react differently now that it has the awareness, now that you've done the active work, now that you've given it the love? How will it be different this time?
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Thank you for actually taking it down into a process that someone can take away with. Like first of all, that awareness piece is what I'm hearing there. Like really, and I really resonate with that. It's like becoming aware of your own patterns and where they're coming from, and this level of curiosity of like, where is this coming from? Where's like this sense of intrigue?
Yeah.
Like curiosity opens up a door of possibility rather than, so I love that piece, like being really curious. And then the other bit that I resonated with there is the befriending, like these parts, like understanding that they've all got positive intent and befriending them and loving them and welcoming them in. Like the way I've had to rewire this for sure, because I used to just want anything that wasn't this like higher compassionate loving self to just go away. And what I then found in that process of wanting something to go away, it's like Carl Jung shares, whatever you resist persists. So is it in that process of wanting something to go away, in fact, it was just coming in more. So that befriending process is such a powerful, like, just perspective to have, like befriend it, welcome it in, love it. Yeah. So
100%.
yeah.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think it's the greatest, like, striving of life to become your own best friend. Like, really, truly, if you're your best friend, it's a great achievement. If you really can say, like, look, I talk to myself kindly, gently, like I celebrate myself, I push myself in a way that feels positive, not harsh. Like that's a really great achievement. I think everyone should strive for that, myself included. And it's a long process. It's a lifelong process and work, really.
Yeah, and that time as well is because I relate. Like I'd love to just have that sense of like love and compassion always, of course. But then also like it's what I'm noticing is it's more around how these phenomena, these parts, the other this pain body, whatever you want to call it. It's more how the relationship we have with them as they naturally arise.
Yeah.
And it's like when they come up, it's then takes a lot of work to be like, oh, I'm just gonna love this part and welcome in. But
Exactly.
that is the work, yeah. So,
Yeah.
and I'm really curious when it comes to the relationship to travel, because it's
Yeah.
like the relationship with self.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the relationship with travel, just before we started the podcast, we were sharing around that how even like a location and a commitment to a location can also be like a commitment to an intimate relationship. Where say you're just moving from place to place to place, which, you know, I've definitely done.
Yeah.
And there's also there's a similarity to with having a relationship, intimate relationship, where you're just going from relationship to relationship to relationship. And it's kind of like surface. Whereas when you actually make a commitment with a person, you're like, hey, we're gonna meet each other and go to the depths together.
Yeah.
There's so much like love and beauty that comes from that. Like, can you speak to that relationship with travel for a nomad?
Yeah, I mean, let me start with saying that I truly believe places are like beings. And that's one of the first things that we tell our students at Deeply Nomad is really see and connect with a place in its energetic form. Don't just see a place as a location that you need to cross off a checklist, which is what a lot of digital nomads do. Like, connect with it, understand that every place is going to bring different challenges and different learnings and different opportunities for growth and different discoveries. And it's like a relationship, as you said, like a person, when you have a friendship with someone, there's all of this that comes out of it, right? You grow together, you experience things together, you learn from each other. Same for a place. And I mean, everyone can feel that different places have a different energetic imprint, right? Like it's very obvious. So I think the most important thing is to gain awareness of that and to see it as a being that you also should give back to. It should be like a reciprocity effect, right? You take from this place all of these teachings, all of these places that it like brings to you, all of these people that it brings to you, all of these experiences, food, like all of it. And then you should also give back to it through conscious awareness of respect, of like understanding its energy, its culture, its people. You should give back through it with whatever, rituals that you invent if you want. Like it's such a creative process and such an individual process how you want to give back to a place and how you want to bond and connect to a place. But yeah, for me, I see it in that way. And so when you commit to a place, it has an effect on yourself. For me now, after a decade of being a digital nomad, I decided that I want to commit to Cape Town. And that doesn't mean necessarily that I'm going to stop traveling, right? Like there's still going to be places out there that I want to explore. But this is a place that I want to like commit to as you would with a romantic partner.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And yeah, seeing the place as a being, and I love the reciprocity
Yeah.
of like, how can I give more to this place and understand this place more?
Yeah.
I'm curious, like, why did you choose Cape Town?
I mean, there's a lot of places that have taken my heart, a lot of places. And when you were saying earlier about this ability to like move from one place to the other, it also came to mind, that oftentimes we treat our lovers in that way. It's like, oh, there's a lot of places that are going to take your heart, a lot of temptations out there. There's lots of places that you would like to visit in the same way that, there's probably a lot of people out there that you feel attracted to, and that but at the same time, it's as we said earlier about the commitment to one place. I think it's a feeling. I remember the first time I came to Cape Town, it was in 2019, so 6 years ago, and I booked my one-way ticket without knowing anyone here, without knowing what this time here would be like. I just felt a deep intuitive pull towards Cape Town. And so I came and I met such incredible human beings here. And for me, the beauty of the nature that is Cape Town, the mountains, the ocean, the connection to this raw powerful nature, it has done something to me. I feel very joyful when I'm here. I feel very myself when I'm here. It brings the best sides of me. It brings out the most playful side of me. It brings out the most like outgoing side of me. It has brought such incredible community to my life. I can truly say that here in Cape Town, I have what I call a family, a family of human beings that I call my soul friends, my soul golden people. And that makes a place. Every travel will be able to say that, like your travel is made by the people you meet. And so for me, this is it. It's I think a place where I found all of the things that I love. And yeah, I mean, you can see my smile when I'm talking
Yeah.
about Cape Town, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, how does that feel? Because to go in a full circle at the beginning, it was this whole nomadic journey was like unfolding to find a place of belonging
Yeah.
and connection. And then
Yeah.
just hearing you share here, it sounds like after this 10 years journey, you've found a place which feels like love and connection and belonging.
Mhm. I have, and yet at the same time, I would say the concept of home and belonging, especially concept of home, has become very like blurred as the years have progressed. Like I don't have a clear answer for you what home is. For many years, I thought, yeah, home is a place, not specifically a house, but a location, like Cape Town, for instance. Then at one point, I really felt like home was that house, that physical, like this is where I live, this is where I have all of my things, this is where I create a feeling of home. This is where I will have one day my family and kids running around. Like that to me suddenly felt like a home. Then at one moment I thought home is actually the person that you love and like the feeling of safety that this person creates for you, in my case, Rick. And then, I also thought, home is actually my inner home, that inner tree inside of me, that centeredness, that inner peace. So I can't give you a clear answer to what home is. And I think I might be looking for the concept of home or the answer to the concept of home my entire life. I don't know. Maybe when I'm 90 years old, one day I'm like, I know what home is now, and I'll be able to answer it to you. But right now, I think it's everything, really. It's everything that you want to be home, It's everything that gives you a sense of safety, a sense of belonging. What do you think home is for you?
Yeah, I think your perspective, first of all, I just want to honor the amount of depth that's even in that share. The way that you've gone inwards and introspectively looked at, is it a place? Is it a relationship? Is it a feeling inside of self? And yeah, I would also share that perspective around, first of all, like at home in a sense of the safety and connection and love in which is created inside of self,
Yeah.
which then you could take anywhere that you go, right? It's like this home of, and going back to the analogy of the
Nice.
connected and the bus and the self that's driving, it's like, I suppose that sense of home inside of inner self would be the driver of that bus who's like playing some great tunes and it's like vibing, it's good vibes. That would feel like a good sense of, and there's lots of love and connection going on. Like inside of self, that would be like, yeah, a sense of, oh, I feel at home, like when connected with that. Yeah, also there's this external home, too, where, yeah, like I'm still on that journey as well of like finding what is that? Is it
Yeah.
is it a place or is it a location? Or yeah, so I would agree. I'd say my definition of home right now would be like my inner home.
Mm.
Like and the home in which is created inside of self. And then also really with the connections, like with my love Bonnie and with friends and family, like that love and connection makes life feel homely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, I think it is what embarked me in this journey, and I think it will be the journey until many years to come. And it's interesting that we're talking about the concept of home now, because as I said earlier, I just came back from a 5-month trip that before we started the podcast, we were chatting, and I was telling you how it had a very different like meaning to me. This trip, it's not been one of joy as it used to be. My trips, you know, all this decade of nomadic life, it was always about fun and joy and exploration and, being a nomad. This last trip has been different for me. This past 5 months has been a lot about closing chapters, about letting go, about kind of saying goodbye a little bit to this nomadic existence. And you won't believe this, but it's really reshaped also the way I think and relate to home. Because, first of all, my father, a few years ago, moved out of the place that he, like, okay, let's start from the beginning.
Yeah.
I grew up with my mom in Barcelona, and my father was always in Germany. So I had two homes essentially when I was a kid. Mainly, I was living in Barcelona, but I would always go to Germany in holidays and in summer for quite a few months. So I had two homes. Now, my dad left the home in Germany 5 years ago, and he moved to the Dominican Republic to retire, essentially. So that home that I had in Germany was completely gone. So I had to work through, I think, my emotions attached to that home. Then on the other hand, my mother still had the place that I grew up in Barcelona. And that really, for the longest time, I considered that to be my home, right? Barcelona as a whole, but specifically that apartment. In January, she left that apartment to move somewhere else. That was a really difficult one for me as well, because I think I was very attached to the apartment. And I think a lot of digital nomads and travelers can relate, and people in general, when your parents suddenly move places, or they sell the house where you grew up in, damn, that really hits, it hits hard, especially for a digital nomad who, I guess, needs that sense of home somewhere, right? So what happened next was that she moved to a house in Barcelona in January, and it's a very long story, and I really don't want to go into detail on it, but last month, this new home that she moved in got demolished without her knowing that it was going to get demolished.
Oh, no.
So all of her belongings, all of our belongings, I had lots of memories there as well. Every gift that I have ever given her, every photo album that she had of herself, every piece of furniture, everything that she owned was demolished. So that hit hard. And it really put upside down my understanding of home. And I guess, thinking about it more in a physical sense and the emotions we attach to a house, to our belongings, to our memories that are attached to those belongings. When you think of, natural disasters, and you think of a house being, burned down by a wildfire, what does that mean, in regards to your sense of home? It is completely destroyed, and yet you have yourself as long as you're safe and as long as you're alive, right? So I guess I just wanted to give that because it happened really recently, and that's why I really don't know what home is. I really don't know. Right now, I'm actually going through the process myself of analyzing the effects that this event has had on me and my relationship to home. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. So this is raw and real for now. So I appreciate bringing that up. And so what came up there is this subtlety of detachment as well, I suppose. There's where, who knows, in that situation where all these things get wiped out, and if I suppose there's these relationships with all these items and pieces, there's suddenly realize the actual attachment to these things, and then they get wiped, and then there's almost a grieving process I can imagine that we have to go through, right?
Yeah, very much so. It's in a complete rebirth almost. It's a complete. And again, for me, I mean, it was my mom's house, right? So it was her things mainly. For me, there were a couple things here and there, yes, lots of memories attached to her belongings and our belongings, but mainly it was a process for her, right? And I can see it from the outside. It is a complete, as I said, rebirth, the attachment fully of everything that you have. It's then when you really understand that we come to this earth, in this body which is our home,
Mm.
and we have to take care of it. And we leave from this earth truly as well in this body, right? And at the end of the day, it's this whole journey that we go on as a human being, as a nomad. That's what counts. It's like truly every choice, every experience, every memory. That's what the journey is all about. And I mean, it sounds, very stereotypical, but physical things, like they can be wiped out the day of tomorrow. Like anything can happen, right?
Yeah.
So we should really focus on the love, that we can experience while we are alive. The connections that we can nourish, especially the one with ourselves, to become our best friend, as
Yeah.
we said earlier.
Yeah. So is that connection with self, and then also the connection with others. Like, how have you found the art of connecting with others at a deeper level while traveling?
Yeah. I am deeply honored to be so gifted with soul people in my life. And I think a great deal of that is due to my intuition. Like, I really think my intuition has really helped me to find those people in my journey. That's why we focus so much on strengthening your sense of intuition at Deeply Nomad. It's one of the core things in the pillar of relationship to self. I think community is everything to me because I come from a broken home. I come from divorced parents. They were great parents individually, but the unity was broken, right?
Mm.
So for me, I try to find the sense of family with friends as well. This is why here, Cape Town, the friends that I have feel like family. That's why it's so important to me, so dear to me. I feel so at home here. And it is really important for digital nomads to focus on depth. Really important. I do want to say that the digital nomad journey is not a straight path. We go through different phases in this cycle, and there are stages for everything, right? You have your first stage when you become a digital nomad. It's all about traveling. It's all about exploring, being free, seeing as much as possible, traveling fast. And I don't have anything against that. I think this stage, in a healthy way, can last for 2 to 3 years, more or less. It is different for everyone, but that's what I generally tell my students. So go explore the world. Don't focus that much on depth, focus on what your heart desires. Like, if you want to move around every 2, 3, 4 weeks, like, do that, But then there will come a time where your heart will desire something deeper. And it happens for every digital nomad. I'm sure it happened for you too. Like, you start to crave those deeper connections, you start to crave community, you start to crave going back to places because it's tiring to always have to start from scratch everywhere you go. So that's when we start slowing down. And that is the stage 2 of the nomadic cycle. It's called slow madding, right? That's when you start staying 2 to 3 months in one place, sometimes even more, 6 months, and it feels good. Feels like you can just like relax a bit more, like become a bit more vulnerable, connect deeper, form those really meaningful relationships, maybe fall in love as well.
Mm.
And slowly but surely, after a couple of years of slow madding, again, it depends on the person. For some people, it's longer. For some people, it's shorter. But at some point, you start to enter the next stage. And that stage is called basing. Okay, so that's where you have explored already enough and you've slowed down enough to know what your favorite places are around the world.
Mm.
And what your favorite communities are around the world. What are those places that bring out the best of you and that complement you in different ways? So in the basing stage, you start hopping around those places. I was in that stage for 5 years. For 5 years, I was traveling around 5 places. For me, it was Barcelona, Lisbon, Cape Town, the Dominican Republic, and Berlin.
Mm.
Okay. And I was just going around in circles. I like a washing machine, just like go around. Loved it. I couldn't commit to anything because all of my lives were everywhere in those 5 places, right? I had built incredible communities and lives in each of these places. So I couldn't just choose one. I just couldn't. It felt impossible. So I kept just circling around. And that stage can be confusing because that when we start going into identity fragmentation. That's something we teach a lot about at Deeply Nomad as well. It's when you start becoming confused about who your real you is. Like, which one of these selves, which one of these lives is truly your life? Because all of them are so real, and yet they're also different, right? So then it becomes very interesting for the brain, and it can become very overstimulating for the brain, kind of jumping around between different parallel lives. That's how I can best explain it.
And like the feeling of loss of identity, because it's like your identity is almost like fragmented, as you said, in like multiple different ways, or like you shared to begin with about the video game. So this is where you almost like multiple characters.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. A bit of a disassociation, like which one is a real character? Like which game am I actually, what's my life? Like what's the game of life? Because I'm playing in all of these different board games and all of these different video games, right? And it really, I mean, I'm sure a lot of digital nomads can relate to this. Like you become slightly different in every place that you are. Like every place has a different energetic imprint. Remember, that's what we said earlier. So every energetic imprint is going to bring out a different energy from you. Like, when I'm in the Dominican Republic, I drive my scooter, I walk bare feet everywhere, I kite surf, I surf, I'm on the beach most days, I live next to the beach when I'm in the DR. Like I spend a lot of time with my dad. I have a different community. I speak Spanish, I dance salsa, like, I wear, it's, you become a different you. And what does that mean, right? If you cycle around 5 different yous on a constant basis, like it was for me for 5 years, you start becoming very confused about who that real you is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, it resonates.
Yeah, it resonates. Yeah. So that is the stage of basing. Okay. So you hop from base to base. And at what point? I mean, I must say that digital nomad life forever is pretty much unsustainable. For those out there that are just starting with their digital nomad careers, like, I love that for you. Just be aware that there will come an end. So we need to be prepared for that end. And that's what we call the exit strategy. You have to have an exit strategy because, yes, some people might become digital nomads for the rest of their life. Some people even create families that are nomadic, right? Yeah. And I really admire that, but that's tough. And truly, I haven't met a single person that has done this nomadic lifestyle until they're 90 years old, right? Mm. So we have to have an exit strategy to understand how to best exit the basing phase and learn how to commit, right? We go back to commitment.
Exactly.
Going back to how we started. We need to learn how to commit to one place. And that comes with not only committing to one place, but committing to a group of people, committing to a life, and committing to one you. Yeah.
So it comes back to this commitment piece, which I suppose is why, you've created this ecosystem, because part of this commitment is learning how to be with these different parts of self that is actually driving the behavior of nomadic living, which gets more and more addictive.
Yeah.
So like that makes sense, to do that inner work, to understand where is all of that coming from.
Yeah.
Why is it getting more and more difficult to commit the longer this goes on?
Yeah.
And then, so in this commitment, if we could go like levels deeper of this commitment piece of how someone can navigate that piece. Like, cause this could also show up for, say, someone who's at that phase in the nomadic journey can show up there, but also for someone who is also looking to commit inside of a relationship, or also I see this with entrepreneurs or people who are stepping into businesses so much, where someone will start like, I help thousands of people set up with their own freedom-based business, which is kind of drives the external freedom to have a vehicle to create time freedom, financial freedom. And what I notice inside of that business is some people will join, and then a month later they're like, I've also started this other thing and this other thing. And I've also started coaching. I've also like, but sorry, you've just started this and you said you've got these goals and aspirations to build something amazing.
Yes.
But you're also doing like 5 other businesses that you've just started this month. I'm like, let's work on it. It comes back to commitment. Back to commitment. Yeah, I share that because just to give a frame of and a context that this can show up for a nomad at that journey, or someone in a business and someone in a relationship.
100%. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, and maybe the listeners have come to this conclusion by themselves, it's like maybe it's all a journey of commitment, especially for digital nomads. Maybe this entire journey that you're on is just so you understand the importance of commitment, so that at the end of this journey, you can commit to a place, and you can commit to a life, and you can commit to a person, and you can commit to a community, like commitment is a really important thing in life. When you commit to yourself, when you commit to an idea, when you commit to a dream, like it takes hard work, but it's so gratifying, right? Like it's at the end of the day, like what makes the journey worthwhile. It's like knowing that you're, holding whatever the thing is that you want to be committed to by the hand, and you're not letting go. And so again, I'm talking from a standpoint of someone who's done a lot of inner work on commitment and has not yet found the full ability to be like totally comfortable with commitment. I'm still, after 10 years of working on this, I'm still like frightened of it as well. So yeah, I think it's really important to be aware of like the importance of commitment, and that's why we also work with digital nomads in all stages of the nomadic cycle. Like at Deeply Nomad, we want to help those that are just starting out, so that they can enter this lifestyle and this journey with full awareness of everything that will come. We help digital nomads that are in the flow, that are truly living the lifestyle for a couple of years already, that are struggling with this lifestyle, or that just want to grow internally, that want to become more aware, want to become more intentional within their journey. And we also help digital nomads that are exiting the lifestyle, that are in the exit strategy phase, that are, trying to find one place to commit to. And we help them navigate the transition, because it is truly an identity transition. When you leave the lifestyle behind and you enter like a new stage of life, one of being more, stationary, one of being more committed, it's a huge identity shift that happens inside.
Yeah.
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 Well, that's amazing. And yeah, what's coming up for me there is this question of, is true commitment actually where freedom lies?
And I love that you said that, because that is one of the most important discussions that we have inside Deeply Nomad when we talk about commitment.
Mm.
And it's true.
Yeah. Yeah, because the freedom there, you've made a choice, and it's like
Yes.
that's freedom in itself.
Yes.
And then following through with that is, yes, it's interesting. I see that in relationship too, where intimate relationship is like that commitment to that person
Yeah.
means that you can just go deeper and deeper and deeper. And then inside of that, things arise. And
Yeah.
as you can meet these phenomena, these parts that arise, that's where freedom lies, on the other side of that.
Yes.
Yeah, on the other side of these fears.
That's exactly it. Like commitment is freedom, It's
Mm.
the more options we have out there, the more temptations we have out there, the less we can commit, the less freedom we also have within ourselves, because we're fragmented, we want it all.
Mm.
But the moment we are able to choose one, to commit to one, that's really freeing for the self.
That's beautiful. Well, thank you so much for sharing. And at this point in the show, we have a vault section. So we basically got every guest leaves a message, and then that builds up in the vault. So would you be open to picking a message from the vault,
Yes.
and then we can have a conversation about that? The listeners can also like reflect around that too.
Of course. Let's do it.
Awesome.
Yes. Before you do anything, try this. Ask yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, what energy am I in? If 7 or below, ask yourself, what can you do to change this?
Yeah, I think that's cool. It's a good reflection, right? Of noticing. Actually, this may even piece in with the relationship piece of, even like from a location that you travel to, or a relationship with someone else. It's like, I feel like we have the energetic blueprint. A place holds an energetic blueprint, but also we have a relationship with all these things that are happening inside of self and also externally. So it's having this awareness of, right, in this area of my life, am I like a 7 out of 10 or below? All right, how can I rewire this? How can I shift this? That's what came up for me.
Yeah.
What came up for you?
I need to think about it for 1 second. Because for me, it has a lot to do. I mean, I love that the word energy is written here. I'm all about energies and intuition, as I said earlier. I think it also has a lot to do with awareness, like truly tuning into yourself to understand like what energy are you in towards something, towards someone, towards somewhere. I think it's a really good tool for digital nomads to understand and make a decision, which we haven't talked about, but decision fatigue is one of the toughest things for digital nomads. You have to make one decision after another all the time. It feels oftentimes very draining. So having a tool to make decisions, and we teach a lot of them at Deeply Nomad, but this could be a really great tool, like truly, like let's say you have to go to a different country tomorrow, but you just fell in love. Like ask yourself on a scale from 1 to 10, what energy are you in? Like where is your heart laying at the end of the day? This is what comes up for me. This question is like, what is your intuition telling you? Because your intuition, yes, it can be, described as this like ethereal thing, but it can also be very practical, like from 1 to 10, like where is your heart at, Maybe it is practical for people that struggle with their sense of intuition, which there are many digital nomads out there. What is your soul telling you from 1 to 10? Do you want to go? Do you not want to go? And then it goes on saying, if 7 or below, ask yourself, what can you do to change this? For me, the number 7, it's quite interesting because there is, I think, always a part of a commitment that you've done to yourself, of a decision that you've made that we need to honor, while at the same time, we shouldn't force anything. So I think there's a good part of like understanding that things can change. And maybe if it's 8, 9, or 10, then you still should go with that decision. You still should, let's say, travel to a new destination if that was what you wanted to do. But if it's lower than 7, there's something there, is intuitively something that is blocking you. So it's interesting, it's important to focus on that as well and hear it out. So I think for me, the word awareness comes out a lot here. Like if it's 7 or below, like become more aware so you understand what is causing that 7 or below and how you can change this if you want it to be changed. And if not, honor this punctuation and make a different decision, right? Like we're not slaves to our decisions. We're never slaves to our decisions. We can change every decision that we make, every choice, but it will have consequences as well, right? So maybe this is a very philosophical way of seeing this, but I think it's a great tool for people to understand where they're at, especially when it comes to a decision in life or a situation in life, and reflect further on maybe things that are detracting from that or blocking that energy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. And I appreciate you sharing that too, because it just speaks volumes about the way in which even you were able to dissect the question.
Yeah.
Like just that level of introspect, like I just really value. I think that's awesome. And also it goes full circle too with the episode today, because it from the first question of this balance between freedom and commitment, and then coming full circle around actually like the freedom may even lie in the commitment.
Yeah.
And then the fact that the ability to make decisions ties in with that commitment piece as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, be like what you shared there, like honoring the fact that a decision, although you make the decision that allows you to move forward, then you gather information, then from that information you can make a new decision. Right? Then that's kind of that flow. So
Yeah.
just almost like anchoring that in for the listener to be like, where in your life are you maybe experiencing this like non-commitment at the moment in an area? And then this decision, like where can I follow the energy, follow the intuition and make a decision for now, knowing that then gathers information, and almost like a snowball effect allows you to gain more and more information. Then you have more information, right? That you can then make new decisions from, like logically, and then also intuitively making decisions from that place too. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
That's what all life is, really, like a sequence of decisions, a sequence of choices, So like, yeah, make sure that you step into the choice that you want to step in at the end of the day. Like it's just a walk that we have, like you can walk anywhere really. Like life is so wide. And so I think I want to, just share a mantra that like a life motto that a person once shared with me and that has stuck with me truly. It's it's a choice. Like, that's as simple as that. It's a choice, you know? So choose wisely, choose intuitively, and also don't beat yourself up if you've made the wrong choice. You can walk back, walk differently. It's all good.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for the conversation. It's been awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's been really, really fascinating and interesting to talk to you.
Yeah.